to reduce poverty and to sustain or to promote more sustainable resource use. As I've indicated, we're working with many different partners, both on the urban food agenda, but also on the recently launched Green Cities initiative, which has a specific aim of not only increasing people's well-being through ensuring better availability and access to food products, but also to green spaces. And I think this combination of improved access to food and improved access to green spaces has been highlighted during the past year as very important. So finally, just to say thank you again, and that as FAO, we're very pleased to be working in partnership with the World Union for Wholesale Markets and other key agencies and stakeholders in supporting cities to play their key role. So thank you, Eugenia, and back to you.
Thank you so much, Jamie, for your presentation. And thank you so much for this snapshot of the situation. I think that most of us, we do agree that we really need to act at the city level and engage as many local authorities as possible and give them also the opportunity to invest. So, of course, like some fundings need to be found to build the needed infrastructure. I'm welcoming now Andrea Segrè, professor at the University of Bologna. Thank you. He's specialized in agriculture, and he's a renowned scholar known for his work in sustainability and circular economy. Please, Professor Segrè.
Bene, grazie per parlarlo in italiano, essendo la nostra lingua, essendoci la traduzione.
Thank you very much for being here. I will speak Italian, and in my presentation, I will move from the local to the global dimension. I'd like to thank, of course, all the organizers. And I must say I'm quite fortunate because I have had the chance to listen to all the previous speakers who have already tilled the soil for me. Let's start. Let's get started. Let's start, in this case, from the global dimension. I will focus on, of course, on loss, waste, on surplus, which is my topic of interest. We have just conducted a research study that was ordered by the Ministry of Agriculture, and that will be analyzed at the Food Systems Summit 2021. I'd like to start, as I said, by an observatory, an antenna that we set up many years ago to monitor and to investigate into our food habits. When there is a waste, there is a warning signal that shows that is something that is not working properly in our eating habits, in our consumption habits. And we should try and do something to try and revert the trends. We all know the FAO data. 1/3 of what is produced, processed, and distributed is not going to be consumed, will not make it to our tables. It's going to be lost somewhere or wasted. And this, of course, impacts on the environment because what is produced or destroyed, according to the FAO, would represent in terms of greenhouse gases the third pollutant at the global level after the two big polluters that are China and the US. This is real data. Let's consider the impact of COVID in this case, impact on the environment. The global survey was conducted with Ipsos for the World Earth Day. Well, the overall impact from the pandemic in the perception of the general population is as severe as COVID. So there is, this is the perception of the general public. The pandemic, of course, is affecting us, is hitting us, but this is caused by a number of factors, by a number of upstream factors. Consider, for instance, climate change and the rising planet temperature. And what is particularly interesting to us is that the climate change mitigation measures that are covered by several international agreements, the Kyoto Protocol and so on, which are not functioning properly though. But the fact that these goals are not being reached or that these agreements are not being implemented badly affects our diet, our food. We could certainly move or shift towards healthy and sustainable diets, traditional diets, well-balanced diets that may ensure or that may guarantee a very important balance to our life. So we have been repeating these ideas over and over again over the last 10 years, and we have come to realize that waste might be a problem. So we are now getting to realize that something can be done by us directly in this respect. So what kind of opportunity for change can we draw from this crisis? How can we act upon it? By the way, I'm also a manager, an executive of a wholesale market in Italy, and the market I am managing is a founding member of Italmercati. Well, from this perspective, we are witnessing that the overall scenario is really polarized. This is Italy. I called this phenomenon food divide. We often speak of digital divide or gender divide, but this food divide was really sharpened by the pandemic. So we have growing numbers of our population that has been badly affected by the pandemic economically. I mean, the number of people in economic poverty in Italy has increased considerably. These people are below the poverty threshold and receive subsidies for that. So one of the goals of the work we have been carrying out for our Ministry of Foreign Affairs in view of the Food Summit is really focusing on how to improve the flows through this pipeline. And also, on the other side, on the opposite side, we find exactly the opposite situation. There is an excess food, and we have seen this and we read about this. The lockdown has forced us to adopt more appropriate eating habits, eating at home, but eating at lunch, at dinner, buying fresher products, buying more genuine products. Many Italians have rediscovered the yeast and the use of yeast to make bread. And the impression we get that we are properly following the Mediterranean diet, the pyramid in Italy. This is not true. We are still far from that. The UNESCO recognized the importance of our lifestyle 10 years ago already. Of course, we need to eat healthy food, but also to move, to make a physical exercise. So we are still very low on this pyramid. We are almost halfway of the pyramid, and this is extremely important to consider. We have seen this polarized situation. Even though who can afford food, so can buy it. Well, even these people are badly struck by overweight and obesity. To further down this paradox, in Italy, the most vulnerable group of overweight people lives in the south of Italy, in the region of Naples, where the Mediterranean diet was really born. So we have similar data in other countries, but what we witness is that there is a problem of an issue of malnutrition, both in terms of overweight or of underweight. So this leads to a higher health bill. And this is something that we should avoid at a time when we need resources for a number of government action. So we start with the bad eating or dietary habits, and over the years this turns into pathology. Of course, there may be other causes, including psychological or behavioral causes, but this overall picture, this overall picture has led us to lose sight of the value of food. Today in the world, there are 862 million of people who suffer from malnutrition or hunger, and twice as many who suffer from obesity or overweight. This shows that the overall population affected is increasing, and it also shows that something is changing in the general picture. There is not only the problem of obesity. This is no longer the only issue of hunger. Sorry, the real problem today is the problem of junk food, of obesity, of overweight, and what we are trying to do is to try and understand what the real features of the Nutri-Score should be. We are working on that. it was developed in France or in the Anglo-Saxon world. In Italy, a very complex system called a nutrient-form battery has been developed. So there is no homogeneity, no consistency, but the food is the key player in a huge market, and this plays a key role from many different aspects. Food is the starting point. It's a primary need. It is unavoidable, and the overall picture has been further stressed by the pandemic. We listen to beautiful speeches. We will have an output from the food summit in September. We will read a lot of documents and papers. Italy decided to join the action track 2, focusing on sustainable consumption and sustainable production approaches. Before closing, I'd like to say a few more words about what we have done on the markets through our research. We have attempted to find a connection among a very disparate and different activities, research, medicine, biology, and so on and so forth. There may be a pathogen coming onto the scene, and how does this impact the economic value of our production? How will this impact our harvest? What's the role of surpluses along the food chain? What's the role of surpluses along the food supply chain? How can we recover them in order to make use of them for the good? This is something we have to work on. We want to focus on this. What is unsolved? What remains in the evening? What are you going to do with that? Sometimes religious associations or charities make use of or get involved in the distribution of this waste, but there is also waste in our households. 60 to 70% is the percentage of waste from our households. So we really needed to work on the education. Do also consider that the waste must then be disposed of and processed, and this involves a direct cost and an environmental cost. So what can we do? Can we just resort or only resort to the Mediterranean diets or to other types of diets that are available in the world? We know it has been proven that eating good food, sustainable food, balanced food, or in a balanced diet is what we should really promote. So we needed to shift towards that kind of behavior. The right to good, sustainable, and healthy food must be enjoyed by all groups within our population, even by those people who have a very low purchasing power. And this is the first step. The second step, which is still poorly perceived, and this is still to be understood. This has to do with the so-called metabolic waste, excess nutrition. You eat too much, you do not eat properly, and that has a big impact. I know that it's not politically correct to say that some people eat too much, but the issue is that they do not eat, they do not eat properly or healthy foods. And the markets are the game changers, I think, are the solution to this. Where do really poor people live? Mostly in urban environments, in cities. 50% of the world's population today lives in cities. The really poor people do not live in rural environments. And our hubs, our platforms are the ideal solution because they allow to make the supply chain much shorter. Our supply chain must be cultivated, must be effective, it must involve good logistics. I'm not fighting at all costs against large distribution and supply channels, but consider that there is now sufficient evidence to prove also, there is sufficient evidence to prove that shorter supply chains are the good solution. And this message must be distributed and also to the various operators within the market. We have to convince all the operators. We start from producers to market operators and so on. So, as I said, we need a very short supply chain. And this shorter supply chain will allow us and all the stakeholders to get closer to our final target. The final target, that is to say, the consumers. Our international president has underlined that all of us are consumers. In Italian, consume means destroy, but we do not destroy food. We enjoy food. We make use of food, and we should consider it as an asset and not as an item, as a good. Do consider the markets, do consider how products are handled, and compare this against what happens with longer supply chains. There is a very high percentage of loss. So do consider that we should do something together with large supermarket chains, large distribution chains. So let's become aware that we have to work on education, on dietary education. Fruit must reach school children. We need to start very early. We need to start with children at school, but also with their families. And we also have to reach teenagers. Information is also important. And I think that events like this one, where people can meet at last, may be very useful to convey the appropriate information. I know that some people, some people prefer investing on marketing rather than on this type of events, but we need to work on culture, we need to work on communication and to promote healthy food. This is absolutely needed in order to avoid the failure. So we need to start doing this, and we need to start making pressure to be heard also at higher levels. This will be key, I think, to get out of the pandemic and to become more resilient and healthier too.
Grazie mille, professor Segrè, per l'intervento che è stato molto...
Thank you, Professor Segrè, for your very interesting presentation.
Now we need to think again about what is food and how do we eat. And what Wholesale markets are proposing is a large variety of products that we cannot find in other kind of like big distributors. So linking in a key way the farmers and the diversity of farmers with cities. We're going to finish now this session, and I'm really sorry because we're running a little bit late, but we have a really important thing to do before going to lunch, that is the signing of the MOU with UN Habitat. This is also going to reinforce one of the main topics that we have been covering this morning, that is how to link food policy with wholesale markets and with cities. So I will ask Stéphane Layani, our chairman, to come here to sign the MOU, and then he will be giving some words, and we will have and then we will have the Director General of UN Habitat that couldn't be here, unfortunately, with us today, but is going to send us also some greetings words to introduce this MOU with our organization. So, Mr. Chairman, now you're invited to speak.
Just a few words. Dear all, I am very pleased to sign today this important collaboration commitment. I would like first and foremost to express my deepest gratitude to the whole team of UN Habitat. Thank you also, dear Natasha, you made a lot to making this signature possible. I want to thank our board member, Natasha Putnik, for developing this cooperation, and the executive director of UN Habitat, Ms. Sharif, for being present virtually and signing this important document and agreement. This agreement between our respective organizations comes at a crucial moment for food system worldwide. 2021 was depicted by the General Secretary of the United Nations as the year of fruit and vegetables, placing food at the epicenter of the international scene. It is extremely important to find long-term solutions to tackle disruption of external shocks like climate change, pandemics, and conflicts, but also to tackle, it has been said, to tackle structural issues resulting in malnutrition or hunger. How to ensure to feed a growing urban population with affordable, healthy, nutritious, and sustainable fresh food would be among prior challenges for every country. And UN Habitat has always been at the cornerstone of ensuring a better quality of life to all in an urbanizing world. Cities play a central role in driving food system transition toward inclusiveness, resilience, and sustainability. This cooperation purpose is to strengthen and contribute to strengthen local authorities in the planning of better food system, network of public markets and circular economy with Africa, Asia, Europe, and Latin America. We have a concrete action. In short, our collaboration will be based on 6 objectives. It is in the MOU. Joint coordination of knowledge sharing activities focused on specific regions like Eastern Europe, in order to better understand challenges and best practice in the food sector and better structure agri-food chain. Greater awareness on the importance of food markets and equitable distribution of market for economic development and social inclusion in Africa, notably. Increased human and financial capacity of local governments and other actors to optimize the use of public spaces as market, access to healthy diets in rural and urban areas, energy production, and enhancing fresh food supply chain. 4, development of policies and other regulatory planning framework to support network and markets and food system. 5, very important, case studies and inspiring practices on urban-rural linkages and food markets are developed and will be shared. Eva, I count on you. And establishing of partnership and network at global, regional, country, and local level to advance urban-rural linkage and food markets. John, my vice chairman, I count on the 6th objective. Thank you, John Triantafyllis, my vice chairman. I believe that this collaboration with the UN Habitat will significantly contribute in transforming tomorrow's food system and feed urban population worldwide in a sustainable way. I am looking forward for our collaboration and the spin-off of our joint effort through this important agreement. Thank you. We are all hungry, and I will hereby sign the document. Eugenia, come to give us the consent to the suit of the journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we're going to really quickly listen to Maimunah Mohd Sharif, that is the Director General of UN Habitat, and she have done a video for us because she couldn't travel, unluckily. But we're going to meet her soon.
Mr. Stéphane Layani, Chairman of the World Union of Wholesale Market, WUWM. Mr. Chi Dongyu, Director General of the Food and Agricultural Organization, Ms. Agnes Kalibata, Secretary General Special Envoy of the United Nations Forum of Sustainable Standards, Mr. Stefano Patuanelli, Honorable Italian Minister of Agricultural and Forestry Policies, Mr. Fabio Massimo Pallottini, Chairman of Ital Mersati, Excellencies, distinguished partners, colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning, good afternoon and evening to all of you. It is an honor for me to speak at the launch of a new partnership between UN Habitat and the World Union of Wholesale Markets on the occasion of this global conference on fresh food distribution in the post-COVID-19 world. Our partnership will strengthen market systems that improve urban-rural linkages for resilient, inclusive, and sustainable territorial food systems as a key component of sustainable cities. UN Habitat is the UN agency that supports more inclusive, resilient, safe, and sustainable cities and human settlements globally. Our vision is to build a better quality of life for all in an urbanizing world. UN Habitat works in over 90 countries to promote transformative change in cities and human settlements through knowledge, policy advice, technical assistance, and collaborative action. Together with our partners, we harness urbanization as a positive transformative force for people and communities in reducing inequality, discrimination, and poverty. Markets and food systems are aligned with and supported by various areas of work of UN Habitats, such as urban and territorial planning, urban-rural linkages, public spaces, and basic services, just to mention a few. Wholesale markets are integral to the provision of fresh food in not only major cities, but also intermediate cities, peri-urban, and rural areas. These markets are parts of a complex web of physical spaces where flows of people, goods, and services occur daily between rural and urban communities through a diversity of parallel distribution systems. Lessons and challenges from the protracted and ongoing crisis of COVID-19 have revealed the fragility as well as strength of the markets and food systems. This 5-year partnership will be used to advance resilient approaches in this realm. We welcome the cooperation with World Union of Wholesale Markets in the context of multi-level and multi-sector approaches to achieve Sustainable Development Goals and the new urban agenda. The purposes and areas of collaboration articulated in this partnership are also consistent with the ongoing collaboration between FAO and UN Habitat on the intersections of food system and urban systems. As I conclude, let me say that it has been a privilege to co-organize an independent food systems dialogue for Africa with the World Union of Wholesale Markets as part of the forthcoming UN Food Systems Summit. UN Habitat is committed to working with all of you to advance the sustainability of food systems globally and locally. Thank you.
Thanks for Director General Mohd for her kind words. I invite you now to go to the fifth floor where we're going to have lunch till 2:30, and afterwards there are going to be like 2 round tables. You have in the program there is going to be a round table here and another one when you go out in your left in the courtyard. Okay, so you have the program, and I'm looking forward for your intervention this afternoon. Bye to everyone looking at us online. We see each other in 1 hour and a half.